This display is used where veterans gather. I use it on the streets at the Salvation Army, Wesley Ministries, the Good Shepherd, and Mission Services. And what I do is I bring this display into where they eat. My display kind of goes right to the throat because I need to talk about the real issues. Normally when you find a veteran or a person in a homeless joint, you normally find drug addiction, alcoholism, some hopelessness, fear, isolation, despair, depression, loneliness, anger, post-traumatic stress disorder. The guys that are no longer here, one is my uncle. He was killed in France in the Second World War, and that's Harley Smith. Then I have Everett Smith that was killed in Italy in the Second World War. Down here is our three brothers and me. My two brothers, Rick and Kevin, both were, I call, heroes. They saved lives with search and rescue in the Canadian Forces for over 10 years, and they've seen a lot of stuff. So as we grew up, we lived around bases and all that, and that's what I desired to do in my life, was be a soldier. I joined the Army Cadets as a young boy and enjoyed that. And in the military, I was a very proud soldier. I was a good soldier. I did what I was told. I knew what it was all about, and I had a lot of pride. I joined in 1974. In 1980, I was posted to a UN posting at the border of Israel and Syria. After 5.5 months of being there, they had to get me out in a hurry with my medical file. I had sustained an injury that they call today PTSD, and I needed to be removed from that war zone, in which I was, and brought back to Canada. I was injured. There was also a back injury that was included in that. What happened is I come back to Canada with a medical file, and at that point in time I went to the base surgeon. There was no help for us back then. There was nothing other than what they did is they posted me out of my unit. That meant that I would never get promoted again. That meant that I was a broken soldier, and that meant that they're just going to keep me until I leave and just use me to work. I got out of the military and I basically was angry and broken, and I was full of despair, the works, and I decided that I would try to make a life of my own, and I hit the street. And when I hit the street, I really hit the street, and I had a lot of pain inside, and what I would do is drink, and I would use. And this went on for years. I ended up on the street for like 26 years. If I would have got help, it probably would have never happened, but I didn't get help because there was no help available in the Canadian military at the time. So after 25, 26 years, my son died. He hung himself. And that period of time, at that point, I wanted to die. And I was determined to die. And I had it planned, and I was going to the Burlington Bridge, and I was going to take my car and ram it into the abutment. As I was driving there, totally despaired, I saw the Joseph Brant Hospital, Burlington Hospital. I thought about a neighbor I had had, and he was a paraplegic. And I thought that, what if I don't die? Then I'll have all this pain and despair, plus I'll be a paraplegic. So I pulled into the hospital, and I told them how I felt, and they took me in. 3 days later, the psychiatrist came to me and said, "You're full of military and childhood trauma, and there's help for you." It's called Veterans Affairs, the Royal Canadian Legion. Mental health issues. You have PTSD. And from that point, I understood something about myself, is that I wasn't the person I used to think. I had a mental health issue, and I needed it to be looked after. And that's where my life changed. That's the beginning of the change of my life. It took a lot of years after that to be in a position I'm in today, but I have not stopped seeking help, getting help, being honest, doing the things I don't want to do, and stop doing the things I want to do. And I'm clean and sober, and I'm pursuing more help in the mental health area. which I recommend to all veterans. If you think something's wrong, there probably is. Go talk to somebody. You don't have to go where I went. The suicide of my son, I don't get it. I definitely would have liked to be gone before he did. But his death gave me some purpose in life. That's just not right. Because I know there's veterans and other people in the area that will not come near the booth. So I'll leave the booth and find myself a little chair somewhere or talk to somebody, but knowing fully well other people want to come up and look at it without being engaged, which is important because veterans are like that. Most people are like that. Some people just don't want to communicate until they know what it's all about. So the cool thing is I know that because that's exactly what I used to do. There's all kinds of different opportunities that are available, and it's a matter of doing a little bit of paperwork so you can get involved in them. And also there's Leave the Streets Behind, which is a program between Veterans Affairs and the Royal Canadian Legion. My job is to get them started. I don't keep any of their paperwork. It's a privacy issue. All I want to do is get the message out. They don't have to live that way anymore. And if they do this paperwork, somebody will talk to them, and there'll be a great opportunity for them and their life. So this booth works. This brings people in. I think I got a lot to do with it too, because I went through it. Which cannot fail to keep a man in everlasting ignorance. That principle is contempt prior to investigation. How many times did I know that there was help out there for me in some areas, but wouldn't go forward and ended up worse off? That's the principle we're talking about. There is opportunities in this booth. If you read this and say, I want to take a chance, I want to walk towards the light, I want a new life, maybe it can be less fear, loneliness, less anger. I want to get off the drugs. I want to get off the booze. I want a new life. I want to get my family back. This is the principle that you must start with.